time, Iran is not bullying other nations, and Iran is against any act of bullying. And when we look at the demeanors of the United States, they have brought in thousands of troops, military gear from thousands of miles ago, and their actions against Venezuela and what they are doing against Cuba, all these demeanors prove that the United States is exercising the act of bullying, targeting unarmed, defenseless, innocent civilians, and targeting civilian infrastructures. What Iran is doing is simply defending themselves and acting against these actions of bullying through their interference in the region. The United States is paving the way for arms race. They are encouraging countries to start and continue to be engaged in this arms race. Question. Egypt has dispatched some warplanes into the United Arab Emirates, and they took part in gunning down some Iranian drones. What's your opinion on this? And did the Iranian foreign minister speak to his Egyptian counterpart on this issue? Our relations with Egypt is based on mutual respect, and communication between the foreign ministries are ongoing, not only on this, but on all the fronts. What is of concern is the security of the region. As it is proven, any act of intervention which may cause which may undermine the stability of the region is rejected, regardless of the body or the party or the country that is intervening. The regional security and stability must be restored and maintained by way of raising the standards of mutual trust among the regional countries. Over the past 70 days, it has proven beyond doubt that the stability and the security of the region has been undermined, and any foreign interference wouldn't bring more stability to the region. Question. The U.S. President Donald Trump has recently stated that sooner or later the Iranian enriched uranium will be handed over to the United States. What's your position on this matter? And is there or during the potential U.S. President's visit to China, will you raise this matter through mediation there? These are two different questions. The U.S. President's visit to China is something of their own. China is a permanent UN Security Council member, and we are in close communication with them. Our foreign minister has been in China a few days ago. We have conveyed our views and our position to China, and China is fully aware that this was a war of necessity. It was a war imposed on Iran. It was not an emergency incident, yet it is a continuation of the unilateral actions of the United States, which continues to violate international laws and regulations. To China, Likewise, it is to us stability and security in the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and Far East are of top priority, and the Chinese would seize the opportunity to warn of any incalculable measures or unlawful acts by the United States, which would continue to undermine not only the regional security and stability, but the global economic security. Question. As the energy prices continue to soar globally, there are reports that France, the United Kingdom, are in the process of deploying warships into the region through certain mechanism of coordination. Are they concerned about the global economy and energy market? I do not fully understand their perspective. However, we have clearly stated to the Europeans that they shouldn't succumb to the U.S. and Israeli hubris acts, and they should refrain from making any move which would undermine their interest. As I said, this war is not only unethical, but it is also unlawful. The U.S. and Israel started their aggression against Iran. These European countries shouldn't be fooled in order to get into this matter, and any intervention in the Strait of Hormuz or the Persian Gulf would bring about further complications. They would rather exacerbate the crisis. We look forward to the world countries to act responsibly and to live up to their respective responsibilities before their own people. Rather, they should exercise pressure on the wrongdoing, the wrongful party, which is the United States and Israel. Before the war, the Strait of Hormuz was open. Question. As the developments continue to unfold in the region, the Western and U.S. media speak about pressures being exercised from the United Arab Emirates on Pakistan in order to undermine the ongoing negotiations. It is also what is Iran's position towards the United Arab Emirates? As to Pakistan, they are acting with absolute professionalism. They continue to act as a mediator, and I believe there is no mediator can allow any pressure being exercised on them or undermine their acts. On the other hand, the unlawful acts which violate international law and international humanitarian law, especially that our citizens were harassed there over the past week. We have also noticed that our citizens in Dubai, we have handed down clear instructions to our embassies and consulates in Dubai, and here we are closely monitoring the situation in the United Arab Emirates. any action required within our power, we wouldn't falter or hesitate in order to serve our people. Question. Recently, the United States handed down sanctions on an Iraqi oil undersecretary simply for his dealings with Iran. What's your position towards the United States' actions? This is a clear act of hubris. This is an act of bullying by the United States. Each and every country should act responsibly with good governance. They should pay respect to other countries' sovereignty and domestic sovereignty. It is the right of the Iraqi people and officials to take whatever decision in their interest. Any resolution or decision made by the Iraqi officials should be respected, not only by Iran, but all the other countries. How could the U.S. officials allow themselves to act in violations of the international law? They raise groundless allegations against other countries and other officials simply to justify their acts. And I believe Iraq will respond in the manner they deem fit. Question. My question is related to the new reports on Venezuela and the U.S. demand for the Iranian enriched uranium. And in cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Speaking of the international law and the sovereignty of countries, how are you dealing with these matters? We believe that the United States are seeking any form of victory, and as to the situation in Venezuela, and I believe one of the nuclear reactors has suffered interruption by the end of 90s. Since then, it has been out of operation. Certain parts of this reactor were stored or remained on site. And based on the Venezuelan government, which we respect, it is up to them. They are a sovereign, independent state. They took this decision according to their own interest, and we do respect their decision. Question. Iran's reply to the U.S. proposal was not satisfactory to the U.S. president. How do you see the future of diplomacy between Iran and the United States? And if the U.S. initiate strikes against Iran once again, how would you respond? Every now and then, and whenever we are forced to fight, we will fight. And wherever there is room for diplomacy, we will seize this opportunity. However, diplomacy has its own rules. There are parties engaged in the negotiations and mediation process, and any decision will be based on our national interest. And the Islamic Republic of Iran has proven that we are keen on safeguarding our people's interests. At the same time, we are dealing with matters with reason, logic, and responsibility. At the same time, the other party should prove their genuineness. Over the past 20 years, the U.S. has always broken all the promises they made. In 2011, they withdrew from the nuclear deal, and last year, they attacked diplomacy at its heart. Question. Recently, Taliban has announced that they are standing at arm's length with respect to the ongoing war between Iran and the United States. What's your response? I make it clear, not only the regional countries.
That's Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmaeil Baghaei speaking to reporters in Tehran after President Donald Trump rejected Iran's response to the latest U.S. proposal to end the war. Baghaei said Iran's proposal to the U.S. was not excessive and that the United States continues to have unreasonable demands. He said Tehran only seeks to secure its rights and gave generous and responsible suggestions to the Americans. Baghaei also addressed reports that France and the UK are deploying warships in the region. He said the Europeans should refrain from making any moves that would undermine their interests. So the latest there from Iranian officials in Tehran.